It's been too goddamn long since I've taken a vacation, so my girlfriend and I decided it was time to hit the road. Coincidentally, my cousin was getting married in Portland, so we figured we would combine that with a little road trip, enjoy some high gas prices, some film photography, and a little Pacific Northwest action. For this trip, I figured I would just bring minimal gear. I brought my Bronica SQAI and my Voigtlander bessa-r. I figured locking myself into one lens on each camera, and especially on 6x6, I would either force myself creatively or I would piss myself off and I wouldn't shoot anything and save a little bit of money. We woke up early as shit, but somehow still managed to leave later than I planned on it. But no big deal, put on some cheerful 5 a.m. music and got ready to spend the whole day driving north on the 5. Most of the drive north was pretty uneventful, but once we got into southern Oregon, I spotted an A-frame motel on the side of the road, and after some sketchy driving maneuvers, we were able to pull over and I got a few frames. Our original plan was to camp that first night in southern Oregon, but unfortunately there was wildfires everywhere, so we weren't able to. We just decided to push straight through to Portland, where we'd meet up with my family. Most of the time in Portland was going to be for wedding stuff, but I did have a little bit of free time. We were able to go over to Ironman 4x4 for their rigs and coffee meet in the morning, and then cruise over to Blue Moon Camera to look at what they got, but somehow I talked myself out of buying a 50mm lens for my Bronica while we were there. That's a decision that would come back to haunt me. After a couple days hanging out with the fam in Portland, it was time to head out. Our first stop on the way to the coast was the infamous airplane home in the middle of the woods just outside of Portland. No idea how that airplane got there, but it was really cool to see. I'd seen it on Instagram a few times and kind of wanted to check it out for myself. I was able to get a few pictures, but overall, just a quick little stop off on the way to Astoria. Once we got to Astoria, we were able to see the Goonies house and some boats around the harbor, just general nautical stuff. But the main goal for that day was to make it out to Fort Stevens State Park and the shipwreck of the Peter Iredale. Driving on the beach at Fort Stevens was a lot of fun, and I definitely recommend it if you're in the area, unless you drive a Kia Soul, in which case you will get stuck repeatedly. Ask me how I know.
Reading is hard.
Getting a photo of the remains of the Peter Iredale was a huge pain in the ass. Definitely an exercise in patience, which is not one of my strong suits. And that's just kind of how it goes in a situation like this. This trip was more about spending some quality time with Natalie, and photography is just kind of a bonus. If you really want to torture your significant other and get a really great photo, drag them out there at sunrise or stay till sunset. But this was just the route that made the most sense for our trip, and so we were there when it was an ideal light and when it was the most crowded. I kind of just had to wait and make the best of it.
What's the matter? Are you mad?
Just every time it's almost there, and then a whole family. And I get it, it's a popular tourist attraction, it's a nice summer day, but Jesus Christ. Patience is not one of my virtues.
After mobbing around on the beach for a few hours, we decided it was time to head south and find camp. We knew we were going to get there well after dark, but we pre-mapped a spot that was recommended, supposedly a really nice place with potential river swimming, We thought it would be great. We got in, we were tired, we set up camp, watched a movie, and basically just passed out. When I woke up in the morning, I was walking around shooting some B-roll, taking some photos, and I noticed a lot of trash everywhere, and that's never a good sign with a camp spot. I found a little trail that would lead down to the river, and as I came around the corner, I basically stumbled into a giant homeless encampment, complete with a Walter White looking guy standing around in a shirt and underwear looking super sketch. I backed out really quickly, told Natalie it was time to wake up and pack up, and that's basically why I always followed the advice of Abe Lincoln: stay strapped or get clapped. On the way out, I couldn't resist stopping to take a never been seen before, super groundbreaking and artistic picture of a sad abandoned basketball hoop. After that, we cruised over to Haystack Rock, where we hung out for a while, and then decided we wanted to go check out one of the lighthouses nearby. That was a big thing for me on this trip, is seeing all the West Coast lighthouses. They're just something I've been obsessed with since I was a kid, and kind of all things nautical in general. But when we got there, we found out that the park closed at 5. It was like 4:50, so we decided to just head into the mountains and make camp. And this time it was a bum-free camp. We were gonna make hot dogs and baked beans, but we're boneheads and we forgot the can opener. Also, we smushed our buns and they're very sad looking.
Are you trying to make it as gross as possible?
I love you.
Like I said, one of the big goals for this trip was to shoot as many photos as I could of the lighthouses on the West Coast. I haven't seen that many lighthouses. I'm from a landlocked state. I wanted to see them, wanted to take pictures of them. I know it's been done a million times before, but honestly, if you take a picture just for yourself because you got to see a place that you've always wanted to see, I think that's a good enough reason. Not everything needs to be some groundbreaking, high art, new thing that nobody's ever seen before. Just because you like it and it makes you happy is a perfectly good reason to take a photo. After a couple days of hiking up and down cliffs to see lighthouses and sandy beaches and things like that, we were feeling a little tired, probably smelled like Bigfoot's ass crack, decided to splurge for a hotel in Goose Bay that night. We walked around town a little bit, took some pictures of some boats, hung around, decided we wanted to have a nice little bougie dinner. That turned out to be an absolute nightmare and we never got our food, so we had to hit up Old Faithful and then we called it an early night. I'm a morning person, Natalie's definitively not a morning person, and I knew we'd have the hotel room till 11 a.m., so I figured I'd wake up before the sun and try and go take a sunrise picture of the Coquille River Lighthouse. But getting there, I realized there was some confusion as to when the place opened, so I wound up having to drive across the river and shoot it from the other side of the river. Wound up working out pretty well, and I'm happy with the way these photos turned out. So, just a lesson, double check from multiple resources where things open if you're on a trip like this. I came to try and take a sunrise photo of the lighthouse. Sunrise is at 6:08. You can see it's starting to get light behind me. But the state park that the lighthouse is in doesn't open till 6. It is now 5:57 and they still have the road towards the lighthouse closed. So I'm hoping that in the next 3 minutes somebody goes and opens that gate so I can drive down there, because it's still like 3 miles from where I'm stopped at a campground to the actual lighthouse. And I'm not walking 3 miles at 6 o'clock in the morning. I certainly won't make sunrise, so that's kind of a bummer. But hopefully we can still get something cool. Update. Their website and maps both say that the park opens at 6. The sign that I just drove past when the ranger opened the gate says 7. I'm just gonna try it. Fuck! On my way to pick up Natalie from the hotel room, I decided to stop and take a picture of this abandoned truck on what seems like the remains of an old dock or something like that. I really liked the way the photo turned out. It was worth almost getting hit by a semi-truck. Then we headed further south on the 101. We cruised through Arch Rock and then dipped back into California, where we drove through the redwoods and on to make our final camp. That was our last night of camping. It was really nice. Thought I heard some crazy sounds in the middle of the night, so I woke up for a long time. But turned out just my paranoia. Slept really good. Now we have about a 9-hour drive home. And first we gotta pack up, so that pretty much blows. We woke up kind of early the next morning. We had about a 10.5 hour drive ahead of us. I busted off a few frames of 120, finished up that roll, took a few miscellaneous frames on the way back. Overall, the trip was great though. I got to spend some quality time with Natalie, unplug, reset for a few days. We didn't get killed by a bum. We didn't get mauled by bears. I got to take some photos. They're okay, nothing super groundbreaking, but that's alright. I'm pretty happy with them. And honestly, not every photo needs to be some high art statement on mankind or society or politics or anything like that, or even really be remarkable or unique in any way if that's the case. A photo can simply just be something to remember a time that you spent with somebody that you love, or in a place that was really cool, or doing something fun. That's totally acceptable. And if anybody shits on you for taking a picture of a place that thousands of people have taken pictures of before, they're tryhards. Who cares? Just take the photo. If it makes you happy, that's all that matters anyway.